Can human consciousness be like the universe? Or can we say this way? What is the mysterious universe of consciousness? I've reflected on this a lot in my ResearchGate discussions, in my research projects, and overall. And I've come to the conclusion that human consciousness is explored, should be explored, first of all, epistemologically, like science plays a crucial role, neurological studies, cognitive science, but also since my background is in English and literature, I have philological background. I approach the theme from a literary perspective, from metaphorical point of view, or an artistic point of view. And regarding a consciousness as a universe, I think there are various similarities and differences. We can both compare finding both similarities and differences. Human consciousness may be as mysterious as the universe, and also human consciousness may seem finite or infinite because such debates are present in physics discussions. For example, whether the universe is infinite or finite, etc. But if we think about consciousness as the universe, we can give cosmological characteristics to the brain or planetary characteristic to the mind. For example, I've recently, a few weeks ago actually, but still continuing, and maybe future series will add more nuances to this. I wrote series, The Mysterious Universe of Consciousness, on Substack, sharing my thoughts, approaching the theme metaphorically. And as I said, and I'm not a cognitive scientist and haven't analyzed consciousness neurologically or cognitively on a scientific level, but I tried to approach it artistically, and actually the results are the following. I've seen planets in the role of human minds, or vice versa. And the first work in the series, The Mysterious Universe of Consciousness, is called The Epistemic Sun of Reason. Human reason is compared with the sun, around which the planets, 9 planets, are rotating. Some of them I'll mention here, like the planet of thought, where the sphere of consciousness, which generate thoughts, and another, the planet of imagination, which generates imagination, yeah, its infinity. Another is memory, the planet of memory, which collects, records everything from the past, like saving as in a document. And there are other planets as well, like planet of emotion, etc. And in another work of this series, The Mysterious Universe of Consciousness, I reflected on human values as the satellite of moral values. I mean, comparing moon, the satellite, with something that illuminates the night, as moral values may illuminate the darkness of ignorance, the darkness of unawareness, etc. And in another work of the series, Galactical Dreams, titled Galactical Dreams, I compared galaxies, bunches of stars and constellations with dreams, how human dreams may be so vast, so higher, so infinite, so including various horizons that they can resemble to that they can resemble to galaxies, and we call this galactical dreams. in the fourth part, I reflected on the black holes as present in the universe. They are like can be compared to the unknown spheres of the human mind, unexplored spheres, and also the atmosphere of joys and comforts that we have, comparing them with atmosphere, that the layer of our consciousness that gives us comfort, inner peace. It's comparable to atmosphere in the universe, and complete a perfect a sense of joy and accomplishment or happiness. I compared it with stratosphere, the the sphere which is much higher than atmosphere in the universe, and it can represent that level in human consciousness. In future series, I will continue exploring consciousness from an artistic point of view again, aesthetically reflecting on that. And also, besides writing them on Substack, I will share the ideas in the videos for my YouTube audience, and I will reflect on various aspects how human consciousness functions on different levels. For example, again, I am not a psychologist, but I'll explore how human consciousness may operate on a psychological manipulation level. For example, when you're manipulated, how your consciousness works, but presenting it from an artistic point of view, maybe works of literature, works of philosophy, etc. And or, for example, how the consciousness of blind individuals um, who don't have visual perception, something that significantly changes. It doesn't lack, but changes the mode of perception for consciousness, how it operates on that level or other levels. For example, consciousness in sadness, consciousness, how it operates in joyful moments, etc. It's just my perception, not as a cognitive scientist, just sharing like a literary review, literary philosophical review, overview on consciousness, which is heavily scientific, but I'll give consciousness an opportunity to explore new horizons, to not only to be in a scientific sphere, but also beyond it. I would like to talk a bit about how my interest started with the theme of consciousness. It started simple. Once I started a discussion on ResearchGate, why is human consciousness so complex? And since this discussion had many answers, it accumulated great insights from researchers, from scientists. I decided to continue and to share it with a non-scientific community, for example, on Substack, while in every community, some are academic, some are not, and are working in an industry field, for example. And again, on Substack as well, there was a big interest in the topic. Why is human consciousness so complex? And I thought about exploring this further as an artistic reflection. And here on YouTube, after starting my channel, I think it's great to share for this to have this opportunity to share my consciousness related ideas here, and maybe to hear your thoughts as well. Maybe you can share your thoughts in the comments. What are you thinking about human consciousness? Why is it so complex? Why is it, or whether, especially regarding this video, can it be like the universe? Can human consciousness be like the mysterious universe? Do you find any similarities or differences, etc.? So to sum up, human consciousness is a universal thing. It refers to each of us because each of us have consciousness, and it's as simple to understand as clear as the day, as the proverb says. So we don't need to be a neurologist to understand what consciousness means, but on an artistic and aesthetic level, we can understand consciousness in our own ways. Maybe practicing here the scope of interdisciplinarity, you can think of your own discipline. For example, if you are a mathematician, you may think how mathematics changes consciousness, how consciousness operates on a mathematical level. Or if you are a doctor, not a brain-related doctor, but maybe cardiologist and some other specializations. And in that case, on a medical level, how can consciousness operate for a doctor, for example, or for a musician who, and how consciousness operates for genius people, like why maybe Ludwig van Beethoven's consciousness operated a bit differently, and that is why he was conscious, genius, genius. Of course, he was conscious, but he was genius. Genius is conscious, but conscious is not always genius. And I think these are discussions, these are further explorations for my themes. Maybe I'll explore each of these questions in my future series, future works of the series called The Mysterious Universe of Consciousness. Whatever the consciousness is, and whether it is as mysterious, as infinite as the universe, although some scientists, some physicists say it's not infinite, universe is finite. So that's a physics debate, that's a philosophical debate, etc. But whatever it is, most important thing is to make the most of it, to better understand your consciousness. It doesn't mean to understand its neurological structure, but it means to better understand what you want, as I mentioned in some of my videos, your purpose, your direction, and the essence of your consciousness would be enough to understand. It's not required from everyone to go into scientific depths, but we can go into philosophical depths instead. Although philosophy is also, while a bit debatable, but philosophy is also considered science in terms of humanities. Of course, it's not a natural or exact science, but it's within the sphere of the humanities. So human consciousness is complex, multidimensional, as mysterious as the universe. And what is our responsibility to better to understand ourselves, our purpose, our goal, and also our time, because consciousness is closely related to time. The stream of consciousness can be perceived differently given your mental state. This brings to the relativity theory. So there is so much things to discuss. There are so much areas to talk about, but this much for this video. In future videos, I'll explore this further, some of the aspects of consciousness. And again, if you have any thoughts about this, you can share them in the comments. And you can also subscribe to my channel to follow the future series of consciousness and overall on philosophy and literature. Thank you for watching.